Aisha, Kandisha. So after watching The Deep House, we decided to throw on these directors' other film that they released this year on Shudder, Kandisha, or Aisha Kandisha. Aisha Kandisha. Aisha Kandisha. Aisha Kandisha. There's a girl in this that says it like 5 times in a row so fucking fast. And I've been trying this whole time since to say it that fast. It's impossible. Aisha Kandisha. Aisha Kandisha. It's right. I was losing in the D. It's like Aisha. Anyways, so you know what? You do the plot synopsis this time. I'm always doing it.
All right.
You lead it. Lead the charge.
So, as plot synopsis, there
Take it too long.
is a girl, and there's a group of friends actually somewhere in France. And they're kind of like little graffiti artists. That's, I guess, what they bond over. Mm-hmm. And one of the girls just recently broke up with her boyfriend because he's an asshole.
He's a fucking asshole.
He tries to do a bad thing to her.
Yes.
And she gets upset, and after discovering the word Kandisha written in an abandoned building that they like to graffiti in, she hears a story about it being this like revenge demon, and when she's hurt, she tries to summon the demon and is successful, and the demon then proceeds to hunt down all of the male loved ones in her life.
Yeah.
And
kind of reminds me of like if Candyman was a revenge demon, you could specifically sick onto certain people. But you know, so she intends for it to really be towards this guy, but then she finds out that there's a much bigger price to pay here, and that a certain amount of people have to go because of what she's done. And then her and her 2 other friends spend the rest of the movie trying to reverse the curse. And okay, so I quite enjoyed this a good amount. While it can be pretty familiar with some of the tropes that it falls into, as far as this whole like speak the name of this person and then this ritual needs to be done in order to, and don't break the circle, and like a lot of that stuff is super familiar. So the film can feel generic to a degree, but where it excels is in a couple areas. Number one being very likable teenage, early 20-year-olds. A lot of the times in movies like this, they're insufferable and almost purposely so. But I actually really quite like the bond they have. They like to give each other a lot of shit, and it comes off as really like genuine and you know, I mean, I wouldn't say the word friendly because of the shit that they're saying to each other.
Sure, they like, it's authentic shit talking between friends.
It's the kind of shit me and my brother say to each other on a like minutely basis.
Secondly basis.
So that I really like. So I actually genuinely cared about these girls and other people around them. Like one of the girls' fathers was a total sweetheart, and you were like, oh no, like I hope nothing happens to him. So they did a very good job of establishing characters very quickly too. Within about 5 minutes, even while this movie was on, we were maybe 5-10 minutes in, and I kind of looked over at her and was like, see, this is how you build likable characters very quickly. Yeah. You know, I'm already like feeling for what's to come. You know, I know that they're about to face something awful, and I already don't want it to happen to them. And secondly, and most importantly, I think that where this film is going to really win over its horror audience is in its kills. Oh my god, they're so good. This features probably my favorite kill of 2021. It's definitely my most memorable at the moment that I can think of off the top of my head. And I guess that proves the point, since the word memorable was just used, and I can't think of anything else that I like better at the moment. Yeah, and so the depiction of Kandisha at first seems really bland and not all that interesting, but as the film progresses, her image becomes more distorted and more, she kind of morphs into something else. and every time there's an incarnation of her, it's scarier. And once we finally get to that kill I'm referring to, is when she's kind of taken her true form, and it's fucking terrifying.
Oh my god, it's so scary.
Yeah, I
So,
wasn't
so
expecting
scary.
that at all, because she kind of has maybe 4 looks throughout the film, and the last one is fucking wild. It's totally different than the rest, and is actually genuinely kind of terrifying.
Oh my god, yeah. It's freaky.
So yeah, man, there's some gnarly kills. There's one kill that does kind of look like bad CG work to an extent. For a second.
Then after, you're like, oh.
Yeah, the aftermath of it looks good.
Yes.
But there's one that takes place in a bathhouse. That's pretty fucking gnarly.
Oh my god. Yeah, we were.
And then there's one in a living room, which is the fucking most insane kill of this year for me.
Yeah.
Just the way everything looks, the way Kandisha looks, the way the kill happens.
Yeah, the setup to it.
Is I literally sat there, mouth agape. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, like with a smile, it was all smile gape. A smile gape.
Gape, smape.
Like smape. But yeah, I was just like, what? And it just kept getting more insane, and I was like, holy shit, that just happened?
Yes.
You know? And the film can be slightly predictable. So I wouldn't expect anything super unpredictable with this. You know, you kind of know the intended targets, and you kind of know, you know, that it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing really in that way, but as I'd said, likable characters, good kills, and eventually a very memorable, crazy looking villain.
Yes. Yeah. Even though it is maybe a bit predictable, I think the execution is really successful. And, I mean, the characters and the villain, honestly, make it just a great movie, despite the kind of generic plot.
Yeah, it overcomes kind of its shortcomings.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's all the generic films that I ever watch, except for they've added the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's really what it comes down to. I watch tons of movies like this all the time. Blumhouse puts out movies like this that have these kind of simple, familiar setups. And it goes to do something like this with the kills or something, and then it cuts away. Or it doesn't go all out. It doesn't just go for it. This one does. This one does. And the characters are just genuinely likable. Like, they feel like genuine friends, genuine kids at this age. So, very successful in a film that shouldn't really work. I should be saying that this film is generic and it's not worth your time. But it does enough to stand above the rest. So, this is a perfect example of what I'm always talking about with taking a familiar element and elevating it by putting in the good stuff.
The good stuff. Yeah, a little sprinkle of this, a little sprinkle of that. Presto.
Yeah. And I think these are just very competent directors. You know, after watching The Deep House and being such a big fan of Livid, and, you know, obviously they're beloved Inside and Among the Living even is a good film. You know, I wasn't a big fan of Leatherface. I'm willing to give it another chance. Now that we've watched these, we're going to do that for Slasher Sunday. Spoilers for next Sunday. I haven't watched it since the first time, and I'm hoping, you know, I will be able to kind of adopt their style into the Texas Chainsaw verse. But that really shouldn't be that hard, because that franchise is all over the fucking place.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So why would it be so wild to think that they could do something different? So whatever. That's to come. But this is currently streaming on Shudder. And I think that if you can get over the generic setup of it, I think it's worth your time for sure.
Yes.
If you're into really cool kills, at least for the fucking love of God, fast forward to those.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely worth your time.
For sure.
So, anyways, let us know if you watch it.
Bye.
Bye.